Welcome back, everyone, to the PickNation.com report. Al DeMarco here along with Steve Budin. This is the only nationally televised show that breaks down every single Sunday pro football game from a point spread perspective. We'll be back with our next preview on the Jets-Chargers game in just a moment. But, guys, you just saw the ad, and we want to talk about DraftStreet.com, how you have a chance of winning $300 of my money by playing fantasy football today, because every single week I'm running a free contest. The top 7 finishers finish in the money. Here's the greatest thing about DraftStreet.com, guys. It's instant gratification. Steve, this isn't like the old school thing where you had to wait and find 22 friends and play till the end of the season. No, these leagues are settled Monday night right after your game, and that's the beautiful thing. And that's why we're running this free contest every week with $300 of my money at stake.
Well, it's true action, and that was always the knock on fantasy football from you, from me, and from every real gambler out there, is that it's not real gambling. You got to wait the whole year. You got to find a bunch of friends that are into it. You change your league, your teams all year long, and hopefully at the end of the year, you win $100. That's no fun. At Draft Street, every single week is a new year in essence. So the action is similar to regular gambling, and I think that's why they do so well. And
let me tell you something. Last week, a guy with the username Spartan Green, gee, something tells me you like Michigan State, 160.64 points. You won first place. You took the lion's share of my $300. Had Matt Ryan, had Matt Stafford, had Ernest Graham, 100 yards out of nowhere for Tampa Bay.
Tell them about who came in second.
I'm getting there. Had Michael
Get
Turner.
Get the Hail to the Chief music ready.
Had Marquise Colston, Devin Hester, huge game. Hakeem Nicks, Wes Walker, Jeremy Shockey. Had the Bengals as his defensive special team there. So he won. And this man, the man who finished, by the way, 138th and 137th.
Takes me a little time to get started. Ask my ex-girlfriends.
The previous 2 weeks, he finally finishes in the money, second place, so only 4 points back. You know, great. As for me, I was 7th the prior 2 weeks. I finished back 33rd.
Which still, out of all the hundreds of people, is still pretty good. You've definitely been more consistent than me. I finally had to, like I do with my gambling, enlist some help from some professionals that came in because I was really sick of taking a beating here on the show every week for doing so bad.
So, guys, listen. Even if you've played before, you can play again. It's my money. Top 7 finish in the money. $300 at stake. Go to DraftStreet.com and play the fantasy football contest. It is fun. You've got until 1 o'clock Eastern time here today. 1 o'clock Eastern when the first games kick off, right? To go in, settle your roster. You are the general manager. You've got $100,000 of mythical money. Every player has a value. You've got to get 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end. You pick a special defensive team. You put it all together. That's how you finalize your roster up until 1 o'clock Eastern time. And again, after the Monday night game here between Baltimore and Jacksonville, that's when the winners are going to be settled, and that's when the money's going to be paid, too. Check it out, DraftStreet.com, $300 of my money at stake. Before we go and talk about the Chargers-Jets game, remember, if you missed any portion of this show, the first half hour, you can catch it in its entirety over at PickNation.com. And remember, you're watching us nationally on Dish Network and DirecTV. You're watching us on FoxSports.com, out in Vegas on Vegas TV. Guys, listen, you can go ahead and realize that over on PickNation.com, there is more than just the first half hour of the show. The second half of the show, where we break down the rest of the games, exclusively available over on PickNation.com. Steve, San Diego and the Jets, I had a big play on the Jets on Monday night. And as a matter of fact, it was a play that I'm now 16-5 with the past 4 years.
That's your second big bailout Monday night play in a row. I know the customers are happy about that.
But I got to tell you something. You know, when Matt Moore and the Dolphins are driving down, it's already a 3-0 game with Miami, and Darrelle Revis comes up with that 100-yard
game changer.
Exactly.
He threw the guy down, and then the ball came to him. They didn't call anything on him. I don't know if it's like Michael Jordan rules with Darrelle Revis. He's allowed to do things that other people aren't allowed to do, but it changed the complexion of the entire game. They were already printing the shirts in Miami. More is more. Well, that didn't last too long.
I mean, you know, the Jets or the Dolphins had the ball already there at the 10-yard line. They go in, take that 10-0 lead, and that game changes. Instead, the Jets play an uninspired, lackluster game, snap the 3-game losing streak, win it 24-6. You've got San Diego coming off the bye under Norv Turner's reign. They're 10-6 as an underdog. I think in this game, since the Jets still have proven they can't run the ball, oh, by the way, San Diego's a favorite. I don't know why I just gave you that underdog stat. But I say that the Jets can't run the ball. Their passing game still leaves a lot to be desired. If it comes down to Mark Sanchez or Phillip Rivers, I'm going with the Bolts.
Well, the reason is because the Jets opened up at 1. That's why you said the underdog stat.
Right, and
now
the
they
public
moved, which shows you that the wise guys early in the week jumped all over San Diego because they know what we know. The Jets right now shouldn't be breaking their arm, patting themselves on the back by beating really a disabled Miami team. They're going to play a team now in the Chargers that are much better on both sides of the ball than the Dolphins were, and I think they're going to find themselves in a lot of trouble. Even though I'm a Jet fan and I'd like to believe that this game changes their whole season, it really doesn't. Same old Jets. Give me the Chargers minus the points.
Okay, we're in agreement there. Next game, let's talk about Houston and Tennessee. Tennessee coming off the bye. Houston, I told you guys last week on the show they were going to get hammered by Baltimore. They hung tough for about 2.5 quarters. A couple of long bombs by Joe Flacco, and then the inside running of Ray Rice really put away the Texans, who are 2-8 against the spread. Their last 10 on the road. Still without Andre Johnson. Defense has played well to a certain extent. I think Tennessee is the better team. And I know sooner or later, I've been telling you all year, that Chris Johnson is going to get in the flow, and I think now, the extra practice, this is the time that you see that 1-2 punch with Hasselbeck and Chris Johnson.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I think the Texans are back to their old ways, finding ways to lose games that they should win. You look at the Tennessee Titans, and they're a team that gamblers have never been comfortable getting behind for whatever reason. Not a big marquee name, not a big betting team, and I think that's why we're seeing this 3-point line. I think, like you said, the Tennessee Titans are better than the Texans. So really, with the home field advantage, giving them the 3 points, they should be more than 3-point favorites. But because of that general disbelief from gamblers that they have when it comes to the Tennessee Titans, I think that's why we're seeing this line so cheap. You got to take advantage of a cheap line when you have one. I'd lay the 3 points here with the Titans at home.
And listen, it wouldn't surprise me if this game goes to 3.5, and no matter what, 3 or 3.5, again, just like Buffalo and New York last week, if you're going to play this game, you got to buy down the half point, put the power of money to work for you, and buy down that insurance.
I would agree.
And our closing couple of minutes, let's take quickly look at the beginning of the Tim Tebow era, I should say, with the Broncos. You, of course, from Miami, not much to cheer about the Dolphins this year. The one thing that we know with the Dolphins, A, they're 0-5. Actually, we know 2 things. A, they're 0-5, and B, they're 0-2 against the spread at home this year. They have failed to cover 18 of their last 23 games at home. I'll tell you what, they can say whatever they want about Tim Tebow, but, there's some intangible that he gets the job done. Somehow he wins a game. It may not be pretty, but he brings just something to his skill set to the team. I think the Broncos as a team, although they have their flaws, have more base talent than the Dolphins do right now.
Well, it's the Tim Tebow era. It's also the Tim Tebow area because Florida is very friendly to Tim Tebow. He's going to come into that Miami stadium and find a lot of love out there in those stands. I agree with what you said. Every single analyst on TV says that Tim Tebow is not an NFL quarterback. Well, let me tell you something. What he is a winner. And that's something that's in his DNA. It just can't separate from him. I think Tim Tebow is going to do great as the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I think this changes around the whole Broncos season. I'm glad to see they finally made the move. I'm going with Denver here.
I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with you guys. Listen, we've got more games to cover, and you can get our breakdowns of Pittsburgh and Arizona and Oakland and Kansas City and all the rest of the games right now over at picknation.com. And our closing minute, I want to remind you once again about the All Access Pass. We do it here at picknation.com.
No one else does it.
Right, because we basically open the door, give you all the plays, all the analysis. If you bought all the handicappers, all 10, 11 of them separately, it would cost you $600, $700. You get them for free, no strings attached. And the reason we do it, because we want you to sample what we're doing, because we have that much confidence. We've assembled the best group of handicappers in the industry.
Well, absolutely. And if you're coming to the site and watching the show and feeling like, hey, now's the time, the All Access Pass is your best way in. It gives you a free shot at everything that a paying customer sees. You see everything that we do, and then you make your own decisions next week.
Guys, no salesmen, no hassles, nobody calls you. 100% online business at picknation.com. And remember, join us over there right now for the balance of the show as we break down all the rest of your games. And remember, every single Sunday, you'll catch us here on air at the picknation.com report. See you next week.